Perfect. Carried. Now up to old business. 4.1 land use bylaw amendment project IEDC input. So I guess we're speaking, talking about our notes about our last meeting with Michelle Ouellette. So I'll let Monique maybe explain a little bit if she got any notes from committee members. Monique, did you get anything?
I did receive some, but she had also compiled her own. I just wanted to know if there was anything specific that you wanted to emphasize, and that there will be opportunity to be able to formalize that if you wish. It was really just a discussion piece this evening so that you were reminded that you had the opportunity. And from what I gathered, there was a lot of agreement in terms of what was being proposed. And I think there had been some questions about if Black Diamond would be reviewing its land use bylaw so that they could be aligned a little bit more closely. And there had been a response from CAO Brown stating that that was not under consideration at the moment, but that their staff was certainly willing to help any inquiries, anybody looking to open a business or looking to develop, through the process and make it as simple as possible and provide as much information as possible, which is the same on both sides.
Okay, Jonathan, you have a question?
Yeah, this is a question for administration. Regarding the 3 common points that were in agreement on February 11th, Monique, are we expected as a committee to make that as a motion to have those 3 points considered for land use bylaw? Is that what you're requesting, Monique?
I think that would be best. I had interpreted as such, and I believe that those comments were understood, but by recording them into a motion, then it's clear and we can go back to it looking for further action if required.
Okay, so if you recall, I sent out an email summarizing the 3 agreed upon points, and the first one would be the possibility of broadening the central business district. The second one would be reducing the minimum square footage of a residential home. And then the third one would be expanding the opportunity for special events by removing a limited number that are allowed in a given year, so long as those events don't go beyond 5 days. Committee members, was there anything else? So if there's nothing else, I would really like one of the committee members to make that as a motion rather than coming from a councillor.
Okay, would anyone like to give that motion? Okay,
I can give that motion, Jonathan.
The wording of the motion is clear by administration?
I don't have it down, but I will go back to Councillor Gordon's notes to be able to string that together. It's to do with the 3 agreed upon points. That would be recommendations to be additions to the land use bylaw amendment as presented.
Do you need me to repeat those points, Monique?
If you'd like to, that'd be great. Or I can go back, sure.
No, number 1 is the broadening of the central business district. And I think the look there was to go north to Dunham Lane.
Thank you.
And potentially east along Main Street or Highway 7, I guess that is. Well, that's the broadening of the central business district. Number 2 was the elimination of the amount of events hosted in a year, so long as those events don't go beyond 5 business days.
The elimination of the
limit placed on special events. And then thirdly was the reduction of the minimum square footage of a residential dwelling. Reduction of the minimum square footage of a residential dwelling of a single detached.
John Waring?
Yeah, but we've already put this through council to planning in Turner Valley to look at doing this. So what are we going to do with the motion from IEDC?
That's not come to council, John, as a specific motion.
I must have misunderstood the discussion we had with her then. I thought that was sort of already done, but that's fine. Okay.
Carol, you had a question?
Is for item number 2. I do believe it was making reference to permits that are required to having venues. My concern with the wording is essentially you're freeing up any business to run any pop-up tent from Thursday to Tuesday, 12 months of the year without a permit. By putting no limit onto it and leaving it as a 5-day maximum, they can run it every week, Thursday to Tuesday, no questions asked. And that is a bothersome when somebody's going to take advantage of that. That could be upsetting to community and to people. I think there should still be a limit, whether it be seasonal or a number or whatever.
Yeah, I'm just referring to what the businesses that had mentioned that in our, not the councillors, but the fellow businesses on our IEDC.
So with the word, could you change the wording so that it reflects sort of as Daryl mentioned, seasonal or, it was annual, I believe. And then we changed it. What, it doesn't have a time limit right now? Can you reread it for me, please?
Yeah, the original inclusion that Michelle was putting in was to a maximum of 4 events a year, so long as they were 5 days or less. And if I recall correctly, as a committee, the encouragement from local businesses was to remove that limit of how often that could be done in a year. But keep in mind, that's a recommendation that goes to Turner Valley Council, and Turner Valley Council will discuss it, and based on administration's recommendation or advice, will bring forward a recommendation that Turner Valley Council at the end of the day would have to agree upon.
Okay. You have a comment? Okay, anyone else has a comment before we vote on this motion then? Okay, well then, if the motion is clear, administration, can we vote on it? Is it clear on your end? Okay, well then, all those in favor for the motion? All right, carried. And opposed? Okay, thank you. The motion is carried. And we can move to item, so now we're at 4.2. That's the report downtown architectural design guidelines review update. So this subcommittee was Mark, Chelsea, Matt, and myself. We were in this subcommittee, and we're going to speak to this. Just before we start speaking about it, Joanne's iPad, it's showing up on my screen. Is that Mayor Goodwin?
Yes, it is.
Hello.
There she is.
Okay, so I'll ask the subcommittee to start to speak to this. I have some notes myself, but Mark, Matt, and Chelsea would like to start.
So it's been a while since we met, Matt and Mark, you'll have to remind me. So yeah, you're gonna have to help me out because it has been a while and I am extremely tired and I actually forget what our meeting was about, but it's been a while and we have not had a meeting since.
I can remind you a bit, Chelsea, if you'd like.
Yes, please.
Okay, so a few of the things that we spoke about is that first we thought that the report that was done in 2013, I believe, we thought it was very well done. But we also thought that since 2013 until today, a lot has changed in town. A lot of businesses are coming to town. It's time to look at it again by the town, by experts in town. As subcommittee, we wanted to recommend this to town, and we wanted to discuss it with the larger group. Another thing we thought about discussing is that if the way Mark put it is that we just want the town to stick to their own rules, is that if they just can follow this, that's the best thing we can do for our neighbors, because this was initiated after the Dairy Queen project was brought up. So we thought, the best thing we can do is just to make sure that the town and whoever is developing in town are following those rules. And in order for that to happen, we cannot ignore that some of the current businesses are not following. So, just for the town to sort of take a look. And also, we thought that it would be handy for Turner Valley, since we're initiating this, to take a look at their, whatever the guidelines they have for their downtown area. And that is going to be today, I guess, in our agenda. So, Kelsey, that's a bit of a reminder for you. And those were my notes, but I'm not sure about yours.
Mark has something to say.
There we are. Yeah, I think we, when this whole Dairy Queen project was first put forward, it was, it got our backs up a bit, I guess. But upon reviewing Black Diamond's policy that was put together in 2013, I think you said, Carrick, it's pretty good. It is. It's pretty good. So I think, like as you said, that what we were going to do is maybe just encourage the Black Diamond Council to revisit it and be familiar with it and try to adhere to it, At the same time, when we're having this talk, we said we should include Turner Valley in this, but I think the way it turned out is that Turner Valley is already revisiting their architectural downtown plan. So that's good. They are taking some steps, and I think we were going to try to set up a meeting with at one of the town council weekly meetings, but that never happened. I think the last time we brought this up, we had quite a long session, and our discussion on this was put on the end, and we were pretty pooched, and it was time to go home. So it never really got taken any further, I don't think. But I think that was sort of the final discussion, was that Turner Valley's already dealing with it, and Black Diamonds is pretty good. Maybe if anything, we just want to kind of encourage them to stick to it. I think that's as far as that went.
Yeah,
I think, Mark, you hit it pretty much on the head. Like, I just wrote down, 2 items. I said, suggest to the IEDC to beef up what the downtown planning parameters, design, land use bylaw should be. And, offer to council to apply the standard of the historic downtown design. We had the privilege of talking with Charlene and Denise really, provided us a good outlay of, the whole DC control with respect to the Dairy Queen. And so, she gave a great overview, helped us really understand how that all came to be. And so, more of a suggestion, on our side, just to really, reconfirm that, Black Diamond's got a really good, program in place circa 2014. And, we just want those standards to be applied, really. We talked about the bylaws in quite depth.
Kelsey, do you have any comments?
I was just going to say I'll follow up with everybody on that committee, and we'll figure out a date we want to either meet or take this forward to council.
Just because I was part of the committee, I think it would be best, I think we have a clear idea of what we want right now. So if one of the subcommittee members would like to make a motion, to direct councilors to council to review, amend if necessary, and sort of stick to that report that we had. I think that's would set it all. In a way, we don't really need to attend the council meeting for that. Especially that the meetings are all online right now. So we can help with the wording. I'm not sure I'm clear on the wording, but we would like to make that motion and then we can work on the wording.
I just wanted to maybe agree with you. I think that, do we necessarily have to set up a formal meeting with the Black Diamond Council to remind them to stick to their policies, or can't we not, our two Black Diamond Councils or members that are here with us today, just bring that up at a council meeting, that's something we would, I don't know what's the right word, I don't know, just the fact that we want them to remind them that it's there, and let's listen to it and let's read it over again when they're making their decisions going forward. Do we need to have a subcommittee meeting with the town council? I guess that's what I'm asking.
All right. Well, can we get any input from Veronica or Daryl about this? Daryl?
With Denise in the planning office, and as I sit on the municipal planning committee, anytime a business comes through, she has the criteria that's required by the Old Town Look, by whatever the title of the paper was, I can't remember, sorry. And she goes through it pretty diligently to make sure that the businesses have done their best. There is always some room for flexibility depending on, because everything's always different. But she does an exceptional job in preparing the committee as well as council when she does her presentations, that the boxes have been checked properly. So it's not just any loop-de-loop coming through with a contemporary design going, yeah, this is okay. No, she does her job quite well, and she does always reiterate to council and to the MPC members that this is in line with the requirements, or it's not, and this is why, and those are decisions that need to be made. So she's constantly reminding us, so we are quite aware of it, but there is no harm in revisiting it as an individuals to keep it fresh in our mind as well. So there's a little up on it.
Okay. Matt?
Hey, Daryl, just in this instance, like I think how this subcommittee was formed was, by virtue of one of our discussions around the Dairy Queen. And as I understood it, with the flood that happened, a number of years ago, this property was then rezoned to DC. And I think that's, Charlene gave us a great explanation, and then, Denise needed to come in to really help us understand it and, speak in layman's terms, so to speak. But the way that I understand it is, and I think you've done a good job, explaining it, but it's really council's decision pertaining to DC control, right? So, I think one of the important facets that we were trying to convey was, we're just reconfirming, that the historic preservation parameters, are really important to the community, and that's what we're looking to achieve. I think that's kind of what I took out of, the end result of our meeting. And it sounds like, Denise reminds you of that.
Yeah, in response, you're right, 100%. And that's why the comment of it wouldn't hurt for individual council members to revisit it, to refresh it. And yeah, there's going to be, like, how do I say it? Care is taken in decisions and moving forward onto it, because it goes through such a checkpoint, because Denise is not going to stretch out and bring something to council that we're just going to look at and laugh because it's not even close to being acceptable by either the business community or the community as a whole, as a region is. Nobody wants an eyesore anywhere. So there are the guidelines, which are guidelines, and there are rules and there are guidelines, and there's opportunities for bettering everything. And I think it's as a three-party system, when you look at the IEDC and the council and the planning department, everybody working together, we come up with a resolve that's a win-win, because nobody wants anything to go south for any reason whatsoever. Nobody wants bad blood. Nobody wants hurt feelings. So like I say, if this group wants to make a recommendation to both councils to review our bylaws, or as our building design requirements. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I would encourage it because as myself, to be honest, I haven't read it in 3 years. Not going to lie. Reviewed it when I came onto council, but I haven't gone back to it since. So I have no problem supporting a motion to review it.
Okay. Well, thanks, Daryl. And that says it all, I think. If I've seen Charlene raise her hand hesitantly. I'm not sure if you raised your hand or you're scratching.
No, it was hesitantly. I was just going to suggest that if the committee feels comfortable, you could agree to, you could make a motion that you agree to recommend that downtown development adhere to the architectural design guidelines as outlined in bylaw 0415 and 1412 when new development occurs within the downtown core.
Okay, perfect. Do we, yeah, I guess, would someone
if that works for this group.
Okay, would someone like to give me that motion? Okay, Mark? And you got the wording for that, Monique?
I will. I had also developed a motion and I was just going to repeat it, but I think that CEO Brown has captured it. I can read you mine, but it's essentially the very same other than quoting the bylaws.
Okay, I'm sure that you will communicate with CEO Brown and get the wording for that motion, but we all agree on it. David, do you have something to say?
Just wanted to say, and I think Monique just said it. So it's going to happen for both towns, right? I mean, we've been talking about Black Diamond, but I think that the architectural guidelines are in place for Turner Valley as well, and we should have the same motion for both towns.
So Monique, what you mentioned, was it for both towns or just for Black Diamond? Are we directing councils to review and amend it for both towns?
Yeah, I'll just read it out and then I can put it in the chat frame as well. So it's to request councils meet with the IEDC subcommittee members to review and discuss the respective downtown design guidelines and encourage new development and application and applicable applications adhere to the regulations to ensure alignment with the intent of the guidelines.
Okay, and that applies to both towns then, I guess.
Yeah, both of the motions do. We can.
Okay.
I know we're supposed to be able to pass a motion that is understood clearly by the committee and made clearly and be able to repeat it back. So I'm fine with using CEO Brown's, but if you wanted it wordsmithed a bit, then we could take a few minutes to figure that out. But I'm satisfied with what was said earlier.
Okay, I'm just going to ask then for you, Monique, to put your motion in the chat so that everyone can read it and understand it clearly, and then we can vote on it. Because Charlene's motion is more to speak into Black Diamond, when your motion is more general to both towns. Did you already do that?
Yes, it's there now.
Okay, well, let's take a look at it, everyone. And if anyone has a question about the motion, we can amend it or change it. Let's give a minute here.
Yeah, that works.
Okay, and Mark, are you still willing to give me that motion after you read it again?
I can't figure out how to see it to read it, but I like the sound of it, what I've heard. So yeah, I would give a motion.
I can read it for you. To request councils meet with the IEDC subcommittee members to review and discuss respective downtown design guidelines and encourage new development and applicable application adhere to the regulations to ensure alignment with the intent of the guidelines. So that sounds good to you?
Yeah. Good motion.
Chair Tarek, before you vote on that, so I just have a question of clarification, just the way that it's written. So we're requesting that councils meet with IEDC subcommittee, or IEDC subcommittee is going to meet with councils? Because right now we've got it as councils meeting with IEDC subcommittee, and I don't know how we would arrange that.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. And I think there's no...
We can sort out the pieces around that, but just to make sure that it's really clear that the IED subcommittee wants to meet with the councils and not the councils meeting with IEDC subcommittee.
Okay, I'll just on that note also, that now that you brought it up, I don't think the meeting is necessary. A meeting per se is not really, I mean, I think it's not a mistrust with the town. The subcommittee, when it came together, I think it's more about that we just want the town to take a look again. So I'll ask people of the subcommittee first, Mark and Chelsea and Matt. Do you think that you would like to meet and to have a discussion with the town, or do you just want the town to look at it?
I don't think that we need to meet with them, honestly. I think if we just recommend that they review it, I think that would be good enough for now.
I agree with Chelsea. I think just giving that reminder out or whatever, that that'll do it. That'll suffice.
Agreed.
Okay, and
It's just so the updated version of that would be to request, because you want to submit the recommendations, or you just want it to be reviewed, because we could just take the idea of the meeting out of it, right? So and it's administration really, and of course council, but administration that would be doing most of the review. So if you're okay with us massaging that, we'll take the idea of the meeting out of it.
yeah, that would.
Okay.
John, you have something to say?
So what's the mechanics of getting this to the councils if we're not going to meet with them? So we make a motion, we write the motion down, it goes in the minutes of the meeting, and then it dies. I thought the whole point of our committee was if there were things that needed to go to councils, that the council reps on the committee would bring them to council.
Okay, I think there's something regarding the YouTube header you want to tell us? Sorry. Sorry, Heather, my understanding is that you're here just to help us with it. Tell us. I'm not sure. I think we're seeking administration guidance. So,
Oh, I'm sorry. She's our acting CAO, and she's also our legislative services manager. So she is the expert in this field. Sorry, I thought I had made that clear.
no, you did not. Sorry.
Apologize.
No worries. Okay. So please repeat. I didn't really hear what you said, Heather. Okay, thank you. So then if we reported it that way, then it will be highlighted in the minutes and then council can discuss it. Veronica, you have something to say?
Not Zoom. It doesn't unmute that way. What I was going to say, the reports for Black Diamond would not be heard until mid-April, if that's okay with the committee.
Okay, well, I guess I'm seeing that the committee's nodding heads. I think there's only one way to know is just that we vote, because we don't, I mean, I think we delayed this matter from last month to this month, and I feel like it's taking longer than it should. So if we can just change the wording from the meeting with the council to just making recommendation to council, and on the hope that the council would highlight it in the minutes. And then if the committee members would like to attend the meeting, then it's up to them, the council meeting, or just to see it online. Would you be able to change the wording right now, Monique, and just resend it to us?
I'm just completing it now. I'll send it shortly.
Okay. Can we move to the next item and get back to it and vote on it, or should we wait for you to?
It's ready now. I'm sending.
Okay.
Oops. Take out the first two.
Oh, two. Yeah.
Two.
Mark, are you able to read it? It's your motion. Okay. I'll give a minute for everyone to read it. Okay. So motion by Mark. You all read the motion. And now we're going to vote on it. All those in favor? Okay, and it is carried. Thank you. And now we're moving to item, we changed things a bit here. So it will be 4.3, which is the report for IED marketing project, phase 1, working group report. So Jess, Chelsea, Jonathan, and Veronica. I believe Jess is the one that's going to speak to this. So if you have, during the open discussion, if you have any questions, when you raise your hand, Jess will recognize you. If that's okay with you, Jess?
Yes.
Okay, please go ahead.
So essentially just wanted to provide an update on where we're at with phase 1. We've got a pretty fulsome communication strategy that's been drafted up. Nick and I worked quite closely on that. And then Veronica really supported us with a lot of the content, both the social media posts being pre-drafted and then the press release that I believe has been circulated both to mayor and councils and the IEDC group. So right now we had a couple of hiccups. We had initially hoped to launch this week, but we ran into some timing issues. So we've taken a bit of a breath, and the hope is to have it launch for next week. The press release has all gone through the approval process and is set to be circulated over to the Western Wheel under embargo. Our hope is to have it hit the newspaper, so actually get into the print version for next Wednesday, and not to have the Western Wheel scoop themselves, if you will, with digital first. So we're really trying to control the timing of that. At the same time, other tactics for deployment information include going out to some of the stakeholder groups, going out to mayor and council. Right now, the website is currently live. It's gone through a couple of different iterations, but because nobody has been shared the link publicly, we really shouldn't see any traffic to that. So there's no concerns there, but the full launch will happen for early next week on Tuesday and Wednesday. So is there any thoughts or comments or questions that I can address? And I think before we jump into that as well, I just wanted to share that I think it has been a significant heavy lift, more so than had been initially expected. So both with the website editing, with the content creation. So I think there's further discussion after we're all good and dusted and launched. I think just around resourcing up for launches such as this with additional paid resources, because it was, I think, for those of the individuals that were quite involved in getting it to where it is, it's been a significant number of hours, is to say the least. So flagging that with kindness, but it's been a lot. Has everybody read the press release? I got one thumbs up. Yeah, good.
Yeah, I thought it looked great and well done. Really, really great.
Veronica's magic wordsmithing talents, like. Yeah, so that's kind of that. I think that once a launch happens next week, I think that it'll be really great for us to at our next internal marketing committee meeting to sort of rally the troops around phase 2 of the marketing, which we'll touch on later on. But our hope is for the next IEDC meeting to have a bit more progress and work back plan on what that next phase looks like with some really tangible deliverables. And I think that if we've learned anything during the process to get to today, is that really having a clear path and division of labor that is as equal as can be expected given people's resources, and or knowing when to wave the white flag and know that we need extra support beyond the volunteer roles of the committee. It's the easiest presentation I've ever talked about.
Okay, well, Matt, you have a question?
Sorry, I was trying to find the unmute. I just want to say it's extremely well done. You know, like I think the whole team thinks that, but just looking around, exploring the website and just going through some of the links, I was super impressed, and just wanted to say thanks to the subcommittee, for really pulling it together. I imagine there was a lot of hard work in it, and just wanted to extend my thanks on that.
I appreciate your gratitude. It was definitely a team effort. I think there's been a lot of hands in the pot, and I think that really even all of you that offered feedback on the website before we got to the place of getting ready to launch. And one small caveat is there are some additional updates to the website. We're waiting on some content that's trying to be procured, some additional opportunities for to showcase each of us when the time is right, to get headshots of each of us in the same place. But really, it's great to launch now. I think it's better than okay, but to know there are additional enhancements that are kind of waiting in the wings for when time and resources allow. And the hope is that's not a what if in the future. That's within the next 4 to 6 weeks we can get those additions over the finish line.
Okay, well, thank you, Jessica. Are there any, Veronica, you have?
I did have one question. I think it was 2 meetings back we discussed, and I can't remember if it was the full group or if it was the subcommittee because my mind's broken that way. But we discussed case studies and brainstormed businesses that we thought would. So I'm looking at the people not on the subcommittee and they're blank. So I think it was the subcommittee that discussed that. But if you guys could throw out a few more names my way. So I did contact everyone that we came up with, and a few declined quite aggressively. So
that's maybe prudent for some additional discussion, Veronica, on the why behind those that we were looking to feature as success stories of really great examples of doing great business and offering diversity to our business community, both for the locals and those traveling through. I think it's a pretty poignant tone that you were the recipient of from some of those individuals.
Yes, so this might lead into another meeting in new business, but there were some very angry business owners that really did not want to participate in anything Black Diamond or Turner Valley, mostly Black Diamond, want to do. So
could you please update us who so far is participating?
So we have Firebrand is yes. Rusty Spur is going to participate in a case study. I've got Crystal Solomon with the coloring books. And, my fourth. Treeline said yes. Oh, and Foothills Energy Co-op.
And someone who wanted to approach Bales?
We hadn't discussed that.
I think it was David who had graciously volunteered.
It's true, and I haven't done anything about it, but I'm happy to talk to Katrina.
Well, maybe we can arm you with the information, and it's really not a heavy lift. It's a couple of quick questions, and then the opportunity is to be featured, hopefully with an image, whether we capture that image or whether it's supplied. But this is an opportunity for the community to raise up our business owners and showcase what they do well. So I can appreciate some flack that Veronica unfortunately was a recipient of, but in general, this is a make good. This is an opportunity for us to move forward and really to showcase what makes our community great. So our hope is that those that will participate are doing so willingly and with grace. I think it's a great opportunity.
Don?
I'd be interested to know why the people who didn't want to be involved. Was there specific reasons or just, are you allowed to tell us?
Yeah, she didn't care if I spoke about it. It's, what's it called? All About Packaging. So since I think they built in late 2000s, early 2010s, and it's just everything. She was told her taxes would go down. She's not pleased with the drainage up there. She was mad that the signage was not attached to her development permit. She just is so thoroughly angry with the way her business started in town She actually hung up on me. Like, I phoned her and asked if she wanted to participate, and she said no and hung up. And I thought, well, that's weird. Maybe she didn't hear me. So I called her back, and no, she heard me. She was just really mad. And yeah, we had a 15-minute conversation, and I jotted down some notes, but yeah, just generally everything. And I don't know if she's a one of, I don't know, but.
Heather, you have something to say? Thank you. And I think on that note, I think if the business owner who you approach had a lot of complaints, personally, I think they need to know that as IDTC, we don't have much to do with it. They can talk to council and encourage them to talk to council. I mean, I would say instead of maybe rephrase angry to being disappointed in a couple of things that happened to her business. So maybe if we can, I know we didn't mention any names, but yeah, if that person, we can email them and say, hey, this is unfortunate that that's your experience, and we can direct them back to council.
Well, and just to cover my side, I did mention I wouldn't say anything, and she told me go right ahead.
Okay. Any more questions about the case studies that were done? Okay. And Matt, please go ahead.
Veronica, how many case studies are you looking for?
I would like 2 more. I think 8 would be a good number.
Do you have any industries you're looking to have incorporated into case studies?
We can share the long list that we started with. I think we had some others on there as well. So just to go back through that again. And also the hope is our website is not going to, the IEDC website, not the IEDC website is not going to remain a static, sit on the shelf and collect dust. I think that for every intention, as we continue to grow in our communities, there's going to be revisions to it, whether it's on a quarterly basis. So to refresh that content and or find other ways for us to tell those good news stories, whether it's sharing the case studies through other communications tactics, I think we'll start with 8 and then go from there. I think it's a really great opportunity to again showcase the diversity of what makes our communities great.
I remember, I think it was David Farron who recommended that we talk to Rollick as a business in town, new business coming to town.
Opening on Friday, plug officially. It's open today, but Friday.
And are you going to do a case study with them?
I don't know, Veronica, do you want to interview me? No, talk to Colin. Talk to him.
Yeah, just get consensus and I will do the job.
Okay, well then, in that case, I guess we can say if anyone thought of any business in the next couple of days, email them to Jess.
And Veronica.
Veronica, that'd be great. And with that, I think we need a motion to accept the update provided by the subcommittee as information. Am I correct, Monique? Yeah, okay. So can I get that motion? John Waring? John Waring, are you giving me a motion or you're giving me that motion, eh?
Yeah, I'm giving you a motion to accept the committee's report for information.
Awesome. Okay, all those in favor? Okay, it's carried. Thank you. And now we move to number 5, new business, 5.1. The marketing plan again. So we are going to ask you to speak again about the phase number 2, Jess and the subcommittee. So you have the floor.
Thank you. So high level update, the next iteration of phase 2 or the next iteration in the whole marketing program is the guide. So there was a lot of heavy lifting done up front on this. And then I think when I joined the committee, we started talking a little bit more in depth of how it could be, built out a little bit more in depth for a bit more of a tool to really augment what is being communicated on the website, the case study being one part of it, testimonials, et cetera, from various business owners. So that is in the works. Straight up, honestly, it hasn't really been given any attention. I'd say in the better part of the last 4 weeks, our focus has really been on getting the website ready to launch. So that, again, we'll have an update for the next IEDC meeting. I think hopefully beyond an update, there'll be some progress over the next 4 weeks. The second part is the digital Main Street. And again, it's been given no energy since the better part of the last 4 weeks. So to reinvigorate conversation around that, I think that there was some interesting opportunity to determine what the IEDC believed the outcome was going to be versus what our contractor was understanding he was to deliver. I think there's a bit of a scope gap there. So I think there's an opportunity for us to come back together and really ensure that the investment there is going to exactly what it needs to be to move the needle, not to tick the box. So that's really all the update that we have at this stage.
Okay. Jonathan, Chelsea, Veronica, anything from that subcommittee you would like to report as well? Okay. Do we have any questions about phase 2 to the subcommittee or to Jess? Okay. Do we need anything to move forward? I don't believe so.
No, I think if you want to make note that an update will be provided at the next IEDC meeting, but really, I think now that the website is launching next week, we'll be able to just say, okay, phase 1 is now complete, and what comes next for that, and then be able to focus our energies. And I think I would also hope to come prepared to the next IEDC meeting with a bit of a work back plan and or a division of labor with really clear division of labor with who's doing what, as well as a work back timeline, so we can all be confident that we're on the same page with what is both intended and is really being committed to get over the finish line.
Great. Thank you, Jess. Okay, then we can move to 5.2 now, which was 4.3 before. So business license fees, registration. And Jonathan Gordon will speak to that. So Jonathan, you have the floor.
Yeah, to give you a bit of a background here, I made a notice of motion about 4 weeks ago, which then was a motion at Turner Valley's last council meeting regarding the potential to remove business license fees from those local small businesses within Turner Valley who do not entertain clients at their premises, whether it be home-based or small business office. And Turner Valley's council actually wanted to broaden that. And so they gave direction that we bring it as a discussion tonight about potentially looking at removing business fees altogether for those local businesses within our community. And they wanted to get some feedback from the members. We're doing our best to eliminate red tape. We're doing our best to encourage investment in our community. Business fees aren't a large source of revenue. One of the concerns that was mentioned around our council table was the failure of some of our smaller businesses to not bother with the business license. So we're losing that registration. And it'd be really nice, as we've discussed as an IEDC, to have a whole holistic view of what businesses are local, even if they are home-based, so that we can at least have that registration ID number, which in the long term would help those investors to know what skills are available to them. So we want to have that discussion about how we can incentivize investment with removing business licenses. So I'd like to hear from the committee what your thoughts on this may be.
Hey, Mark, please go ahead.
So just so it's clear, we're talking about removing the fee, so they would still apply for a license. So you'd get the information about the business, the fact that they're operating in town and whatnot, but there wouldn't be a fee attached to it.
Exactly.
And you're saying that the revenue stream created by these license fees is not that significant.
It's not a significant fee in the overall picture of it. I think the benefit of it would be we get that registration that we've been looking for to know what businesses are local. If you go on our business list, town, we have so many business licenses, but those operators and owners are not within our two communities. They have to get that business license permit in order to do business. It's not reflective of really where they are. So potentially we should see a much fuller view of who actually is doing what in our two communities, and that's one thought behind it.
I like the idea.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm just wondering if we can speak about what that volume of revenue is. Is it in the thousands, the tens of thousands, the hundreds? Is that full disclosure, or is that not allowed?
No, Minik, I think, can speak to that. Minik, I want to say it was between 12. The fee that would initially be impacted on the home-based businesses was a really minor drop in the bucket. Now, obviously, going to every business that is owned and operated within the borders of Turner Valley would be a little bit more than that. But the initial number I had was just on those home-based registrations, and it was just honestly a few $1,000s. Now, it may be a bit more. So, Minik, would you have a rough estimate available?
Yeah, I'm just pulling up the exact numbers, but in 2021, let me see, in 2020, the actual was 16,000 that was collected, and that was under budget. We fell short of about 4,000 on that. Just a hard year for businesses, but typically it would be between 20,000 and 22,000. And remembering that while some of those are certainly home-based, a lot of them are also out of town, and they're not necessarily residential. So we've got a resident and a non-resident category, and annual and seasonal. And as such, many of the trades, for example, would be taking out business licenses to do work. So I haven't broken it down by category in that sense, but that's the amount that we would be talking about. And at the moment, those funds go towards the IEDC activities.
Yeah, and that if I may pick up through the chair on that, the concern was the initial motion when we were just looking at those residential businesses that didn't entertain clients. They don't. They're not seeing a significant benefit, if you will, of the IEDC work so much as a storefront may. So we're looking at it from that perspective. But and as I mentioned, our council wanted to have that discussion. What would our committee feel about removing the residential business licenses for those who own and operate in our communities?
Chelsea, go ahead. Yeah, and then John.
So just to clarify, if you're non-residential business, they would still have to pay the fee. Is that the idea?
Yeah, that was my question.
I have a couple of questions for you, Jonathan, and for Minik. So first question is, what's the minimum requirement for someone to obtain a business license? Because one concern or one idea that comes to mind is that if there's no minimum, wouldn't that flood the website with many businesses that otherwise wouldn't show up?
Minik, you want to handle that one, or maybe Tarek, would you explain yourself a little bit more about what you mean by the minimum?
So when I go to the town of Black Diamond to apply for my business license, I have, I write a write-up about what my business is all about. I write my corporation number. I have to have a phone number. I have to have an email and a website and what have you. So what define a business in that term for them to be applying to business license, like the minimum requirement in a way? Does that make sense?
The criteria to define a business, I will have to go back to the bylaw, but it would likely define it as an entity that provides products or services to the general public for a fee. So it could take on all shapes and sizes. And right now, the way that we categorize it, it's really, I guess, voluntary. And once they're in the system, they are sent renewal notices annually if they're still in business. And then the categories range between the types and the timing of it. So if it's a seasonal business, weekly, monthly, seasonal, annual, or even a farmer's market that was to be held on a regular basis, they would all be different categories. But I'd have to take a moment just to look through the definition on the bylaw. If you want to continue discussion, I can research that.
Okay, and while you do that, I will ask the second question, which is, in the times of amalgamation, and since our websites are between Black Diamond and Turner Valley are sort of intertwined in a way, if someone applied for a business license, correct me if I'm wrong, in Black Diamond, it will show up on Turner Valley and vice versa. So would it make sense to do this in one town and not the other? Now, I'm aware that the two towns are different, but as a committee, we are intermunicipal. So would it make sense for Turner Valley to go ahead with this without the other town doing this?
If I can, Chair Tarek, in regards to that, if specifically we're talking about home-based businesses and not storefront, we've just gone through a whole big thing around business licenses and professional organizations, and just did a whole bunch of research around that and what that needed to look like. So there needs to be a definition around whether or not we're looking at taking out the residential portion of it. And again, there's two bylaws. So Turner Valley has a business license bylaw, and so does Black Diamond. So those two bylaws would then need to be reviewed and amended and brought back to their individual councils for those approvals. Just because we get and Black Diamond also has fire inspections attached to their bylaws, whereas Turner Valley doesn't have that. So there's some little nuances that are different within the bylaws. But if you are correct in saying that if I have a business license in Black Diamond, I'm able to operate in Turner Valley. And if I have a business license in Turner Valley, I'm able to operate in Black Diamond. Did I answer that question?
Yeah, you did. Thank you. I see in the chat, Monique, you put something for us.
I did. This is the definition of a business. What CAO Brown has just explained is exactly that. And then just full disclosure, I'm not the one that actually deals with business licensing. I'm very fortunate to receive the funding from it, and that operates in my budget. But it is, in fact, a planning exercise because a lot of this may trigger a development permit requirement. So it goes through planning first and the business license officer. And that's correct. We can have, the way it works right now is if the business is situated in Turner Valley, then it requires a Turner Valley business license, but it's also usable within the town of Black Diamond.
Okay, well then, just going back to my point, and thank you for clarifying both Charlene and Monique, but I feel like in that case, if Black Diamond is still charging for home-based businesses when Turner Valley is not, when everyone will go to Turner Valley to apply for their businesses. Or someone would say, like I can see the headline on the Okoto clustering wheel saying we waived the fees, and then I can see the comments, people saying, what about Black Diamond? Step up, do something about it. So I feel like as the IDC, if we're supporting this, we need to either make a motion to recommend this to the Council of Black Diamond as well, just so that we are, thinking about both communities, equally in a way. Jonathan, do you have any thoughts on that, what I said? Is this your motion?
No, absolutely. And that's why I wanted to have this discussion, because it is a lengthy process. We'd have to look at amending bylaws, which always includes, usually includes the need to go through public participation and different readings as well. It is a large project, but it's for us to really be a little bit forward thinking, and how can we support current businesses that are here, let them know that because we've talked about it before, one of the key drivers to economic development is business retention and expansion. And how best can we show that we're supporting who's currently working, residing, owning, operating within our communities? And this is one piece of a large puzzle.
Okay, well, are there any questions for Jonathan? David?
I'm kind of torn on this idea, partly because any reduction in taxes and costs for a small business is valuable. So I think that's a great reason to do it. But on the other hand, I wonder if you don't have any fees, the incentive to make sure that you register as a business is kind of almost gone. I mean, when I pay bills, I feel like I have to take ownership of that registration. But if there's really no penalty or no cost to it, I don't know if that would increase the number of people that would be registering, or maybe even decrease. But I don't know. I just asked that question and bring that point up.
Yeah, and I agree with David. I think it brings up the seriousness of the business in a way, and I think I feel like I just think that in a town that you have to register your dog, you have to register your business. This makes sense to me.
It's kind of like if you give away something for free, it has no value.
John Waring?
But I think basically there's two different sides to it. One is registration and the other is cost. And if we're talking about a professional person who's doing consulting work from home, it would be good to have them registered as a business so we know they exist and other people know they exist. Whereas whether we want to charge them $100 or $150 a year as a business license, that's a separate issue. The thing that worries me is that businesses could be operating and in ways they could end up being a danger to the public because they're not monitored properly. I don't know where safety comes into this.
Hey, Monique?
I don't know if any of the councillors recall that about 5 years ago, there had been a waiving of the fee of the business license for home occupations. Or no, I'm sorry, of the development application, because it requires a development application, but there was still a business fee charged. So that helped to offset it somewhat. And eventually, I guess with the new fee schedule, it got reinstated. But that would be the way that you would capture that safety issue to ensure that they're permitted to actually operate as opposed to the fee for the license.
Hey.
Minette, Chair Tarek, can I just ask a question? Did that happen within both of the communities or just one of the communities? I'm just not aware.
I don't recall, but I don't believe that Black Diamond had adopted that. In the day, we weren't quite as connected or sharing as much information as we have since then.
Okay, well, I guess, Jonathan, it's I'll get back to you. Would you like to say something before we either make a motion or move on?
No, I think we can just accept the discussion as information. I don't think there's a motion coming out of it.
Okay, so we're not going to make any motions. Just okay. Well, I guess we can get a motion to. Can you repeat that, please? I lost me.
Yeah, just to accept it as information. The discussion we've had regarding business licenses.
Okay, can I get that motion from you?
Sure, I'll give that motion.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay. Any opposed? Okay, carried. Now we are going to move on to 5.3, which is Sunset Boulevard Infrastructure Replacement Project. And Mr. Farron will speak to that. You have the floor, David.
So I think everybody knows that this summer is the probably the long-awaited upgrade of Sunset Boulevard. Not the perfect summer to be doing it for businesses, honestly, because we're all coming out of the pandemic and then people won't really have access to Sunset Boulevard, but fully understood that, it's a 1930s system of pipes under there and it has to be done sometime. So as long as it's done in a careful way to support the business, I think everybody is okay with it. But one thing that I kind of think as we're going through all these infrastructure projects, and I presume we're spending federal and provincial money to do that, is that it is a great opportunity to upgrade the look of Sunset Boulevard. There's, if you look at a lot of places where they've done this and had to tear it all up, putting some stamped concrete down and maybe colored sidewalks and a few things that just make it look a little bit better. We're trying to create a tourist town and have visitors come in and a visitor economy. Well, this is a great opportunity just to make it look a little bit better. And I don't think it would cost significantly more. And I am no expert whatsoever in road building. So just don't take my word for it. But, even a couple of lamp posts and some stamped concrete walkways, I think would be a tremendous upgrade to what's there right now. So that's all I have to, contribute really. But I just, I know that we're going to be tearing it all up. So why don't we make it look better when we're finished?
Okay. Now, can we hear from the Turner Valley councillors about that project and what is, on the other side of the argument, what is the plan to be happening, and if there's anything that reflects what David just said?
There's a press release has gone out on the whole project with updates, and that'll be giving more information on the routing of vehicles, the speed limits, and this type of thing. The actual details of the construction work with regards to the surfacing of the roads and the sidewalks never even comes to council. These are things we don't see, we don't know about. It's all done through the engineers and the tendering process. If we were, as a council now, to go back to our project engineer and suggest something like this, which I personally would have no problem doing, I would say. And I also agree with David, it would be very good to see something like this done. And also, I can't see it being particularly expensive. So my suggestion, if Jonathan was to agree, is that we, as the representatives of this committee, could be directed to discuss this with administration to see in what way we could try to introduce these suggestions.
Jonathan, you have something?
Yeah, I'd be fully in support of that. In fact, I would take it a little bit farther to make sure that the central business district may have some of these guidelines within it for future development. Not just the short term on Sunset, but why not? If we're looking to expand the central district northwards to Dunham Lane, then if there's opportunity to do that, I think that the challenge might be we would have to work with Alberta Transport, since that is technically that's their road. So there may be a little bit of extra red tape to go through, but I fully support that. If the committee wants to move us that way, I'm fully supportive of it. Thanks for bringing that forward, David.
Yeah, Jonathan, just to interrupt, I don't think they would have any impact at all on any decisions made to make the sidewalks look more attractive. And
no, not the sidewalks, but David had mentioned the crosswalk being stamped or something and having that set special. That's where it just becomes a little bit.
Yeah, the sidewalks could be a problem, but it's only a matter of making an application.
Totally.
Started.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great idea.
Have to be redone anyway. So, and I guess even if you had these stamped concrete walkways across, I mean, it almost acts as like a road barrier to slow traffic down in some ways. And so I think you could serve a lot of purposes if you did that. But, we're trying to upgrade the look of Turner Valley. And so this is an opportunity when we're already spending money. That was really my thought, and it creates a sense of place in the central business district.
Yeah, I think we should definitely take this up with the administration and see what we can organize on this and report back at the next meeting.
Okay, so do we if we direct councillors to discuss with the administration, can you give us some timing on the project without us, like before we
Yeah, the project timing is shovels in the ground. At the next council meeting, we're approving the bid of the tender. As soon as it's approved, they want to get going on it. I'm imagining that things like sidewalks and road resurfacing is going to be the last, which will be in the fall. And any landscaping and cleanup will be maybe early next year from the project timeline that I've looked at. So we have got time. We've maybe got 3-4 months to get something sorted out. But we need to start getting the ball rolling now, not wait for 3 or 4 months.
Okay, Monique, you have something to say?
Part of the communication plan involves having the discussion with the affected owners as well, and I believe that some of that has begun. So for those owners that are along that area, I would suggest there's an opportunity to be able to reinforce that thought as well.
Okay, so would Mr. Farron be an affected owner? He is. So if we're making a motion, is there any conflict of interest here? Would he vote on it, or how would that work?
It can't be conflict of interest because there's no pecuniary advantage.
Okay, well then we can get the motion from you, David, regarding that.
Well, maybe I won't do the given what you just said. Maybe I won't make the motion. I'll just make the suggestion so somebody else can put their hand up on that idea.
Mark will give us that motion. So the motion is to direct councillors to discuss just to get the wording right, the infrastructure replacement project with administration. Something along that line. Help me out with the wording.
Something that reflects the enhanced aesthetics of the roadway and the streetscape. I don't know.
David and Mark, Monique just put the motion in the chat box here. If you want to take a look and see if that looks good to you.
Yeah, that's good.
Anyone has a comment on this?
That's good.
Okay, well, motion by Mark then, and all those in favor? Right. Motion is carried then.
I think the odd bottle of scotch left out for the workmen might help as well.
Okay, well then, yes, we can move to the roundtable discussion. The first time we reach roundtable before 8 o'clock. I'll get it. Now it's an open.
Be careful, or Les will come back.
Anyone has anything for the roundtable?
Just, excuse me, Chair Nimmer, just to remind everybody that this is being live streamed, so we have to be a little bit careful. Thanks.
Thanks for the reminder. Jess, we'll start with you and then Jonathan.
I just wanted to graciously invite all of you that if your schedules allow, to come down and check out the newest addition to the Black Diamond business community. We've been soft opening this last week and working out some kinks, but officially shouting from the rooftops. We're open on Friday, but doing a bit of a non-event grand opening on Saturday. And come down and check out the shop. You make an appointment to get your bike fixed, or buy a skateboard for yourself or somebody else, or just come down and check out the e-bikes. And just really, we're super excited. This has been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears for the last couple of years. And so to see it come to fruition is a pretty emotional part of our time here in Black Diamond. So I wanted to invite all of you guys to come down and be our guest and come and say hello anytime in the days ahead. Any days but Monday and Tuesday, because he's managed to convince him to keep closed for 2 days a week at least to start.
Congratulations. That's very exciting.
Yeah. I should bring Irene down tomorrow. It's her birthday. I'll buy her a skateboard. She'll be
great idea. Buy her an e-bike, John. What a great idea. So thoughtful.
Jonathan, you had something for the roundtable?
Yeah, just a quick update. As you know, 2 council meetings ago, Jason Spicer and Mr. Sutherland came to Turner Valley's council to talk about the development on the northwest corner of Main Street and Sunset Boulevard, north of the RBC post office building. And there was concern that there was a laneway on the northern edge of lot 112. And our planning department, when they spoke to land titles, they were made aware of a land use change that was made in the 1970s where that laneway was closed as a roadway. So that's great news because now it doesn't have to go through a bylaw. That bylaw was done in the 70s, and all that is needed now is for that small, thin portion of land for an agreement, for a sale agreement. So that has hastened the time frame for potentially the developers to turn the soil and start developing. So that's an excellent find by our administration, and it really is. It's a win-win for everyone involved. It's got some momentum going. So just wanted to give you that quick update.
Can I just add to that, Jonathan, that one of the reasons they decided to move there and develop that area is because of the proposed changes to the parking within our new land use bylaw. They like the flexibility that Turner Valley were going to offer.
Yeah, actually, and I asked that question of Mr. Sutherland. I said, what brought you back to the table? And he said, the only thing that brought us back to the table was the open parking allowance in the amended land use bylaw. And so that developers are looking. So that's a big win for our town.
Awesome. And Veronica, do you have an update for the roundtable regarding what we spoke about?
Yeah, I made a motion, I don't know, 2 weeks ago in Black Diamond Council to submit an application for Municipal Excellence Awards for the IEDC. So I'll just email you that. You can all take a look at what was written, and it's coming to Black Diamond this coming week, and yeah, Turner Valley and Black Diamond this coming week.
Yeah, it's on the Monday agenda.
Matt, do you have an update?
I was going to ask Veronica, I noted on Facebook there was a posting for the amalgamation. There's a couple of meetings coming up. Is there anything us as the IDC should be doing to help promote that?
I imagine if you guys want to share it on your Facebook pages, that wouldn't be a problem.
Also, is it going to be streamed like on Facebook Live, or is there any consideration for YouTube, for that meeting?
Yeah.
That's it. No? Okay.
I think they're still working out the details of how they're going to do it. They're hoping people will register that they want to be involved and pre-submit questions. And yeah, it's still a few things to iron out.
Do you have an input regarding that?
Me?
Heather. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Her hand was up, but maybe change her mind.
Yeah, and just to confirm, the dates are March 30th and April 1st.
And April 1st being April Fool's Day, it's perfect.
And that's a morning session too, Councillor Waring.
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, you have to do it after 12 o'clock.
Meeting will involve just both councils?
Yeah.
There's a third party involved?
The two mayors, the two CAOs, and the consultants are heading up the meeting.
Okay. And so now if we share it, we're just sharing the days, not really the links or anything to it. It's on social media.
Yeah, all the details are out in social media, and they'll be updated as more information is available.
Yeah, and just to follow up to that, Tarek, it's a public engagement. It's the very first public engagement, and it really is to focus on the process of amalgamation, to update the communities where we're at. And so it's laying the groundwork for moving forward with then the follow-up pieces will be regarding public engagement, that is, will be much more involved. This one is really an informative piece to outline the process of amalgamation.
In the chat box, Monique saying she'll send invitations for RDC member by Monday. Anyone else has anything for the roundtable discussion? Mark? Chelsea, go ahead.
I just want to give a few updates on the chamber. So we had our first virtual AGM on February 23rd, and it was an okay turnout. There was probably about 12 or 13. Obviously, we wanted to see more, but that's okay. It will be posted where people can watch it if you so choose. And I can share that too when we get that up and running. But a few things to know: the chamber now has a phone number, so you don't have to just email, you can call. And who will be answering that phone is April. She was hired on as the new admin for chamber to help out and do all the paperwork stuff, answer emails. She'll be taking care of the phone, all that fun stuff. There's a golf tournament coming up in June for all you golf lovers, and we'll send that out once all the dates and times and all that's established, but it's going to be at the Highwood Golf Club this year. And I think that's it without going into too much detail. But those are the big highlights that came out of the meeting.
Which is the Highwood?
I don't know. I don't golf, so I have no idea.
It's a nice course in High River.
Oh God, I hate playing there.
Noted.
Mark, you're going to have to replace me this year if you already haven't done so. There's all these houses in the way.
Oh. Yeah, so that's it. That's it from Chamber.
Sorry, I can't hear you, but I think you've acknowledged me, Tarek. Chelsea, I'd like to ask, we, as the town, used to be members and have not been invited to renew any memberships. Do you know what the stance is on that, or more to the point, would there be an opportunity to be updated on the information so we can help share and promote any of the activities of the chamber? We'd be happy to support that way.
Okay, and that is actually a big goal of the chamber this year, is to do a lot more collaboration. I know COVID put a huge damper in the things over the last year for everybody, but you can renew online now. So there is a form that you can go on, fill out, and send an email transfer just to renew it. So it's easier than printing off the form, filling it out, and then scanning and emailing it. So we made it a little bit easier for everybody. But yeah, to bring the towns on board and keep you guys up to date absolutely is a goal for everybody to start doing that. Yeah.
Anyone else? Mayor Goodwin, do you have anything for the roundtable? Okay, I have something. I just keep thinking about, like, today is the first day that we are streamed on YouTube, and I just think if one of those people watching on YouTube wanted to ask a question for the committee, if people had questions, because I think someone might have a question. I don't have a clear guidelines regarding that. Like, are we allowing? If someone said I want to talk to the committee, are we allowing questions to be submitted or someone to attend the meeting for a question period? And as an advisory committee, I don't think, but I just would like to know whether it is a thing or not. So maybe administration can help me out on that a little bit. Monique, do you have any, or Charlene?
I'd prefer to defer to Heather Thompson. Sorry to throw it over to you, Heather, but she's our legislative services manager and she knows this inside and out. So I think that her response along with CAO Brown's is probably the better ones.
Okay. Yeah, Heather, can you please help us out with that? And my question is more about are we able to answer questions like as a committee, as an advisory committee? Say that it's an in-person meeting. Are we required or able to answer questions of the public? Like, are we able to have that 15 minutes or whatever it is, depending on how many questions we have to answer questions? Who would answer the questions? Would be the chair or the councillors, or how would that work? Or should we simply just direct all the questions to councils because what we're doing is really aligned with council? Arlene?
Yeah, you could have an opportunity to have a 15-minute Q&A. Heather is quite right. Once you get into your business meeting, it's very similar to that it would be as a council meeting, and therefore public conversation should not be entertained in the middle of a business meeting. It wouldn't be any different than a board of directors meetings as being advisory. But you could have an opportunity for a Q&A at the beginning, like a 15-minute question and answer if people wanted to do that. You would have to change your terms of reference and as well as your agendas to be able to facilitate that, which means that it's a bylaw change.
That makes sense. Okay, well, thanks for clarifying. And the reason I'm asking that also is because when I heard Veronica's comment today about the business owners who refused to participate in being on a website, to storytelling on a website, I just felt like if they had a chance to talk to the committee in a Q&A session to ask their questions that they're frustrated about, or if there are anything that they are wondering what is our committee all about, I think I would personally recommend that. But yeah, go ahead, please.
There might be some opportunity with your new website that you might be able to facilitate something similar to that, but not necessarily, and do it like on a virtual basis. If the committee was interested in doing that, maybe it's not at a meeting. If you have, just out of experience, if you have residents or business owners or anybody that's not necessarily part of the committee, it poses great risk to the council members and to committee members to be answering off the cuff. So research is necessary.
And that's exactly what I'm getting at in a way, is that are we allowed to answer just off the top of our heads, or who would, so I guess, yeah, we can leave that until the time it happens. We can leave it as it is currently, but it just, I was curious. Thank you for answering my question. Anyone else has anything for the round table? Daryl? Yes. Monique? Arlene? Okay. Well, if that's the case, then we did a record today. We broke a record. We're going to, the next meeting is going to be April 8th, 2021, the second Thursday as well of April. And we can adjourn the meeting at 8:06. Thank you all for attending.
Have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great evening. Marketing Committee will be in touch. Bye-bye.
Good night, all.